live? Samson turned to me, something really interesting observation Samson made. Credit to him, but all three speakers in a row were Filipino.
I know.
Not to talk race, but Filipinos are very much caregivers, and they care about people. This business is about caring for somebody. When you sponsor them, they're your friends, they're your family, you care about them. And I want to recognize all the amazing. Give everyone who spoke this afternoon this lunch a hand. I thought Greg Ferraro did an amazing job, one of the best jobs I've ever seen Greg do. Give Greg a big hand. He was fantastic when he brought him down. Holly's going to come up here next, and Corbin, I appreciate you give me the honor to bring up Holly. I had some really good conversation with Holly and Corbin this week. I've had it with Mark Ewell, I've had it with Samson, Kim, all of our leadership. And that conversation is as simple as this. We can spend hours talking about the philosophy and the historians, and there's mock stars, there's rock stars, right? I want to create a bunch of rock stars, not mock stars. Christine Peterson always shows up. Holly DeMont's crisscrossing the country. I can name tons of people, by the way, just so you know, that are crisscrossing the country. My conversation with our leadership recently is this. We owe it to everybody in this room to go help you build what's inside of this head and this head. And in these first couple rows, there's so much knowledge and wisdom in here. But it's time to go put it in action. And that's on my shoulders as well. That's on all of ours together. That's not pointing at any one person. It's all of us. And Holly and Corbin's attitude has been 22 out of 10 this week as I've talked to them and said, guys, we're going to go, first off, we're going to have a bunch of fun. Right? We're not just going to go crisscross the country. We're going to go have fun doing it. And so whether 5 people show up at a meeting or 25 or 55 or 500, we're going to have an absolute blast because that's how you create it. This business is created one person at a time. And 1 turns into 2, and 2 turns into 4, and depending on if you're good at math, that turns into 16, and 32, and 64, and 128. We've all seen that, right? But I say that to say, always remember, keep it super simple. And they are masters at fun, keeping it super simple. Holly's going to cover something completely different than what Corbin covered, but please, get out your pencils, get out your pens, take notes. And I'm just going to say this. You're going to see North America with Holly and Corbin and Lance and Tracy and Greg and Lori and Mark Ewell and Ollie DeMont, Christy Peterson and Adrian Ruiz and Nicole Barone and George Reed. I can go down the list of amazing leaders we have. We're going to crisscross North America, that's US, Canada, lighting this thing on fire pocket by pocket. Until where we have 30, 40, 50, 60 pockets being lit on fire. I don't care if it's South Dakota, Minnesota, Miami, Seattle, Los Angeles, New York, doesn't matter where it's at. We're going to light a bunch of pockets on fire. And a big part of lighting those pockets on fire is none other than Hollywood, our 6-star director. Please put your hands together for none other than Holly Roush.
This has been amazing already just today. And I want each of you to know that you're a huge part of that. And the only way for us to all move this forward is we got to do it together. And sometimes we all want to stay in our own little bubble with our own little team. And how Corbin and I got to the position we're in today is we move together as an entire group. It doesn't matter the team. We got to move together, especially when you're a brand new company. And so we're brand new, we're 2 years old. There are times that sometimes you see us sit back. And the reason why Corbin and I sit back is because it's your turn to stand up. We don't have egos, we never have. It's never been about Corbin and I because it's always been about you. I would rather hear your story. I'd rather be able to sit there. But as leaders, sometimes there's a time for us to stand up and get out in front and center again, to share our stories, to show you all what's possible. And sometimes people are like, oh, they may rest on their past story, and what are they doing today? You need to understand our past story is what got us here today. So we have to share that. We have to take you on that journey, because the journey that I was on to get where I am today is a lot of you sitting in the room where you're just getting started. Remember, your leaders all started somewhere. We all started as a brand new person, like many of I didn't know how to call someone. I didn't know a comp plan. I'd never done this before. When I got the call to get started, my upline, which would be my upline, was in Florida, but I didn't even know what an upline was. I didn't know their name or who to reach out to. My brother-in-law, Bo Van Pelt, who's a PGA golfer, which is, by the way, now on the Champions Tour, and he's crushing it, so you'll have to watch for his name. But I heard about this industry through him. He had no knowledge, experience, or anything, but when he said there's a way to get healthy and earn some extra money, I was open. But he had no experience, and he didn't know who was above him except for some guy that he went to high school with, called him, and said, I found something. It's a way to get healthy, make some extra money. Are you open? And my brother-in-law was smart enough to say, yeah, I'm open. I'm going to use the product, but I'm going to share it with somebody that ended up having the time and the passion to get out there and share it. And that's why you want to build a list and never prejudge that list. And so when we got that call, hey, we found something, it's a way to get healthy and earn some extra money. As a stay-at-home mom, I had done pharmaceutical sales before. Corbin was up here talking. He had a great job. I didn't have to do something. I love pharmaceutical sales. I thought I would take that company and run the company one day. So when I chose to stay at home with the boys, we have 3 young boys, when I chose to do that, that was a tough decision for me because I like to work. I'm a worker bee. I like to get in the trenches. I like to build teams. And so when I was introduced to this opportunity, at the time I'd retired from pharmaceutical sales, and I was open. I was open to doing something on the side where I could still be there and present raising my kids, but also making an impact. We are in the business of making an impact, and every one of you have the chance to do it. The only difference is I did a lot more than most people are willing to do. I got uncomfortable. And you have to get uncomfortable to get comfortable at the end of the day. When I first went to my first event, Corbin, when I said yes, he said, over my dead body, you're not gonna do it. All our friends will run from you. Don't get involved. How many of y'all have a spouse at home like that? You have friends like that, right? We all have naysayers that say it can't happen. And a lot of them are sitting on the sidelines wanting you to fail because they don't want to do it or get uncomfortable to do it, but they don't want you to have success. Here's the thing that never bothered me. When I grew up, my parents divorced when I was young. I lived in 6, 7 different states every single year. Between elementary and middle school, I went to a brand new school. I got used to introducing myself and making friends. I got used to putting myself in an uncomfortable situation, which is why I'm probably used to this business, and it doesn't bother me when someone says no. I would move into a new area. My goal was I want to get in with the in crowd, and I'd work my way into it. And all of those things led me to where I am today. And so when my brother-in-law told me about this industry, and he said, you can do it from home, I'm like, how do you do it? I was thinking, you go to Whole Foods, you go to your chiropractor, you go to gyms. He's like, no, it's one of those things. I'm like, one of what things? He's like, network marketing. I'm like, yeah, that's what I want to do, right? Y'all were so excited. It was network marketing. You were dying to do it. I dreamt about it as a little girl. When I grow up, I want to be a professional network marketer. Didn't you? Of course we didn't. But I say today they should be teaching this in colleges. As a matter of fact, they do. My son, it's so interesting. The oldest went to University of Alabama in an entrepreneurship class, and the professor had known about us. He saw his name, researched us, and knew that we did network marketing because they teach it in schools. It's the best way to connect with people. So I said yes. He said over my dead body. I thought about it for 3 days. I was that submissive wife. And for 3 days I said no, but for 3 days I could not get it out of my head. Because it's like, what if this is the next biggest thing and I had said no, I'd be sick about it. And guess what? That company was the next big thing. It went on to do $1 billion in 3 years. And I didn't make the income I made because I sat back with this company that went to $1 billion. I helped create that. I want you to know I was the first female in that company to come in and break the mold. It was all men. There were a couple husbands and wives. There were wives supporting their men up there, but I was the first female to come in there and show women can do it too. And we're looking at a sea of women and men in this room. I love it because husbands and wives can do it together, guys can do it alone, and girls can do it alone. It just takes you and having the passion, and I did. I wanted to help people succeed. I said yes. I signed up, I got some product. Corbin was like, I hid it from him. And I was like, he's gonna kill me. And so I made a lot of phone calls. I hid. I hid in the bathroom, I hid in the closet, I hid outside, because as I was sharing the product with people, the phone was ringing and they were excited. Tell me more, I want to get involved, because people knew me. She's going to set me up to succeed, not fail. The only way you set your friends up to succeed and not fail is to get in the trenches with them and help them. Too many of us, we're just checking people off and getting them enrolled and then moving on to the next, and it's like, yeah, I got my enrollment. No, you got to help them duplicate. I didn't know what an upline was, but I was smart enough to know that I needed to duplicate what I was doing. And I went to a meeting down in Dallas, Texas. I'd been in the business 4 or 5 weeks, not long, and I saw there was an event there. It was 5 hours for me. Corbin's like, overnights weren't part of the deal, but I'm like, hey, I'm getting my friends' credit cards. I need to really learn a little bit more. I walked into the room was set for about 100 people. 15 people were in the room. As I was walking into a room, a guy was walking out. He said, where are you going? I said, I'm going to that event right there. He said, don't go, it's a bust, no one's in there. And I said, I just drove 5 hours, I brought 2 people, I'm going in. And so I went into that meeting, and I remember the guy that was talking, he inspired me. I listened to him talk, and he had no education, he looked like a hippie, and I'm like, if that guy can do it, and he's made $100 million in the industry, I have a marketing degree. I mean, of course I can do better. And some of you all are that arrogant to believe that you can go duplicate and reinvent the wheel on your own without going to the people who know what they're doing and who have been there before you. I was smart enough to sit in that room, and I saw what he did, and I thought, he's made $100 million, I've made about $500 bucks. I think I'll follow him. And so I watched him, and everything that he did, he had just this whiteboard or this like piece of paper that he would just flip over, and everything he wrote down, I wrote down. Everything he said, I wrote down. And at the end of it, I said, hey, well, first off, he said, I want to help 10 people in here become millionaires. And I'm on the front row. Pick me! Like, I totally thought it was a pick me contest. Like, I think I'm cute. Oh, I'm going to give you $1 million. Right? There are people in this room just think just by being present, you're going to go make that $5,000 a week, $1,000 a week, 500, whatever your goal. Presence is not going to get you there. Action is. I sat in that room and I realized pick me wasn't going to work, but I said, what would it take to get you to come to Tulsa, Oklahoma and do a meeting for me? He said, I tell you what, you get 50 people on your team, like 50 people in all of Tulsa, I'll come. I said, deal. I got in the car, my friend was sitting next to me, driving home. I enrolled 9 people driving home. How did I enroll 9 people? I was inspired. I knew what he was doing I could do. It was no different, he was just a little further along. I knew I needed to duplicate what he did, and I called my friends, hey, I found something. It's a way for us to get healthy and make some extra money. Are you open? Did you hear what Corbin said? I said the same. Do you know I still say that today, 20 years later? It has not changed. The people who are getting so into the science, it's taking you way longer to recruit people than the ones who are keeping it simple. People are fired up and they want to get in business with me because I know I'm the real deal. Do they know you're the real deal? So I signed them, I called them, and I said, hey, I've got my 50 people. This is like a week later. He said, did I tell you 50 people? I meant 100. Now a lot of y'all would be like, oh, he is a loser, what a liar, I'm gonna quit. He told me 50 and now it's 100. Change the game, I'm out. I was like, you know what? He's right. I will do great if he comes to Tulsa and I put 50 people in a room, but imagine the business if I get 100 people in front of him. 50 is great, but 100 duplicates my business even more. So I said, deal. I called him 2 weeks later. I said, I got 100. He said, oh, you know what, I'll send my friend. Which was funny because he did send his friend, and his friend was actually the person who related to my team even more than he did, so it was a perfect situation. My point is, I knew the power of getting as many people in front of him. You all have leaders that I know crisscross and come to your town, and sometimes we get into that room and you're like, oh, my kids were so busy and I had all these sports things to do and doctor's appointments and I got busy with work and I just didn't have a chance to call people. And we're like, we just went across the country to come to you to hear all of these excuses on why you didn't put people in the room. I'm just gonna tell you, if we get out there and if we're all running, we all have to do our part in inviting. The difference in my business and most people's business is I valued somebody's time.
Not only did I value my upline's time, I valued my friend's time, and I valued my time. The more people I could put in front of them, the bigger my business would grow. And that went on. We had a big hotel room. People were lined up out the door. We couldn't even fit everybody in the room. And then the business just started to duplicate. You know, I went on that Pretty Woman shop. How many ladies want to do that, you know?
Yeah.
It should have helped me. I had an agreement with Corbin. Whatever I make, I got to keep. I thought that was good, right? Because he thought, hey, you're going to quit in 3 months. I'll never have to hear about it again. So I'm like, my goal is $100 a week. Some of y'all are sitting here and you're like, if I don't make $5,000 this week, I'm out. Well, you're not going to make $5,000 your first week. Like, it just doesn't work that way. I wanted $100. My first week, I got 480. And then it went to like 80, and then it went to 40, and Corbin's like, see, it's done. And I'm like, nope, because those Smartships kick in. Not only did the Smartships kick in, and then more people start coming in. So it went to 500,000, started growing. So we went to Scottsdale and went to watch my brother-in-law play golf. He was at the pool. I did the Pretty Woman shop, told the lady, you should have helped me. But I was like, I don't mean it rude, but I just always want to say that. And I came back, and I threw all the stuff on the floor, and he's like, how much did you spend? I said, it doesn't matter, it was all on my little debit card. And every week he kept adding, and every week. And finally he was like, man, I need your login and password. How many nights a week do you think? You know, you go, girl. And I handed him a check for $17,000. We paid off his truck, and that's when we realized there was more to this business than we could imagine. I want you guys to hear that story because I still do that today. You know, some people are like, oh, they're not doing anything, or, you know, that was just how they got started. We still do that today. The same principles I did then still count. The difference is, like, my network's different. Those of you with young kids, or we need to go out and get the youth, the younger people that have kids, you're around people all the time. Like, I'm jealous of you. You're at soccer, you're at baseball, you're at football. And I would be in those stands. Hey, grandmas, if you're in the stands, I'd have Kinetic with me everywhere I go. I'd be sitting in the football stands, pouring in my bottled water, like, so everybody sees. And they're like, what is that? Glad you asked. You could see my grandson out. I mean, our kids crushed it in sports. And we would tell them it's because of the product. Well, yeah, well, what does Dakota do? It's, you know, this product. And they're like, dang, my kids need some. You know, our kids would get out there and share. Our kids would take product to school. I was at an event and a teacher called and said, thank you so much for sending that energy product with Ethan to school. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm in Florida. You know, our kids listen. And I want to say to all of you with kids and with grandkids coming up, this is your opportunity to change a generation. You know, we saw what happened in the last few weeks. These kids, they need connection. We've got it in this business. I had someone call and say, it's just hard for me to get out and start talking to people with everything that has happened. I feel like it's insensitive. I'm like, no, it's insensitive if we don't get out and share the message that we have. Because we get to touch people in a way with our community. You see in this room how people are lifting each other up. You know, they're encouraging each other. Here's the thing, our business moves people and people will move product. Right now we're trying to move product and try to get people to move after the product's there. We're going backwards. You move people. We need to start talking to people. We need to start talking about the opportunity. The products will come. And then as you get that product, you've got to get it on the street. There's nothing worse than me seeing you guys buy 3 and 4 times the number of pack promotions we have out there and you stick it in your cabinet. Why is my business as big as it is? Because I take advantage of every pack promotion out there, so that's an investment to get onto the street. So how many of y'all have products sitting in the cabinet? Okay? How many of you have no product? If you don't have product, you're out of business. Like, you can't talk about Eternal but not have it to give it to someone in their hands. So get product. If you've invested in product and you have a cabinet full, why are you letting it sit there? Get it in people's hands. Invest it in people. Hey, I thought of you. You were complaining about whatever it is. You know, I should take this. I know it'll make a difference, and let's connect. You know, start talking. Get that product out there, because really it's just a tool to have a conversation. That's really all it is. And sometimes that's what people need. Why do we need events? Your team needs that tool to have conversations. You know, we all want to get to just a Zoom, or, you know, I love when people say, well, I'm so good at one-on-ones, I don't have to do events. You may be great at one-on-one, but that new person has no idea what to say. And so they're not good at one-on-ones. So if you never do events, to bring those people to where they can learn more. They'll never get out and start talking to people. You guys have to start doing events. One person, two people, it doesn't matter. Every time I have a new group, I try to get into their homes. Duplicating this business, why we are here today, I started with a home meeting of 5 people. And that 5 people, we laughed so hard, I was so terrible at it. Guys, when I come to your town, I'm not duplicatable. I've done it for 20 years. When you get up in front of the room and you're a 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, you're duplicatable. They can beat you. They struggle to think they can't do what I've done. I should be good. I've done it a long time. But if you get up there and you mess it up and you laugh, they're like, I can do that. As a matter of fact, you want to be so bad that they're like, give me the microphone, you sit down. Right? No one should wait on some leader to come to town. They don't know who Holly Roush is, but they know who you are. They know who Tracy is. They know who Nicole is. Nicole's doing events. She's great at doing them. Nicole doesn't need, they don't even know me. They know her. They came to her house for her and support her. So I need a commitment from everyone in here to start that. Open up your home. I love when people say, oh, I'm in a tiny house, or it's messy, I gotta wait for my decorator, or I've gotta get the cleaners over. Your friend was there yesterday for a glass of wine. Like, you don't all of a sudden have to be a different person to hold an event. It's like your friends all just came yesterday for a birthday party, but I have to have a different house to have my friends over to share 3? Are you kidding? Do you see where this does not make sense? Be you. I think sometimes we see on social media these big homes, this grand production, and so we're like, I can't duplicate. What you're not seeing is what's reality, and it's an apartment, it's someone's living room, it's a coffee shop, it's an office building. It does not have to be perfection, right? It just has to be duplicatable. It doesn't have to be a big spread. Why? Because that mom and dad that are working 8 to 5 can't come home and then put a big spread for everyone to come over, and then everyone sits at their house for 4 hours, and then they have to sleep and repeat. They won't repeat. But if I can host something and I have some bottled waters out and our amazing products and maybe popcorn, I don't know, something simple. If I can do that and I get people in and out of my house in an hour, they'll come back 2 and 3 more nights. But if I'm like, I have to have charcuterie and wine, and spend $500 to get someone in my house, they're gonna quit. They aren't doing it. Why do you wonder why people don't duplicate? This is why. We need people to get back to simplicity. And I'm gonna leave you with this. Those are my 3 little boys, Corbin and I's 3 little boys. They were 3, 6, and 9 when I started in the industry. That's one of the first trips that we took them on, a Mediterranean cruise around the world. Guys, our kids have been turned into 3 amazing young men. Our oldest is in Birmingham working, our middle is now in New York City working for EY, and our youngest is a senior at Alabama, has gotten his job already in tech sales starting next year. I'm going to tell you, our boys have their confidence, their drive, their kindness, their giving hearts, their tenacity, all of that because of this industry. Because they watched mom and dad work together for a common goal. Too many husbands and wives are going in different directions. They're not speaking with each other. They're never spending time together. Kids are raising themselves on their iPads, their phones, and the internet. It's time to get back into the home. Get around that kitchen table. Dream with your kids. Plan with your kids. Make them a part of it. Our kids were a part of it. Hey, when we hit this rank, we're going to go to this place. When we hit this rank, we're buying you this. They're calling us today still at 22, 25, and 29, asking how is the event going? How many people are there? Are people excited? What's the next thing on your list of things to do? And they're duplicating it now into their lives. So here they are older. We're living our dream place. We could never lived here if it was not for this industry. Corbin and I are here to fight the fight. But we need other people to start fighting with us because we cannot do it alone. So I need a bunch of fighters out there. I want to hear from you. Stand up if you're ready. We're going to get out there. We're going to share this. And we're going to take this